Hello everybody and welcome to a Minecraft tutorial mini-series. And in this series we'll be taking a look at how to build a Minecraft starter house that doesn't suck. Now if you are new to Minecraft, you have most probably built something that looks like this. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with building something like this in order to survive your first few days, I don't think anybody can honestly say that they want to live in something that looks like this. But there's much more wrong with this build than it simply being a horrible looking box made out of dirt, and we will be addressing those issues. Now before we get started, this series isn't intended to be a block for block blueprint on how to build a specific Minecraft house. Instead, it's intended to give you an idea of how to design and build your own Minecraft house, how to bring the ideas that live inside your head to life and recreate them in a three-dimensional environment. And we're going to be doing so in 5 different stages. In episode 1, we're going to take a look at planning, a vital step in building your own Minecraft starter house. And this is a step that is often neglected by new players because it is rather boring. In episode 2, we're going to take a look at building, and this is where we're going to be placing down the actual blocks and creating a rough model of what we want our house to look like. We'll also be looking at some basic roof designs as well as block palette selection. In episode 3, we'll be looking at texturing, and this is a critical step in any Minecraft build, no matter how big or small, as it can transform even the most mundane builds into something spectacular. In episode 4, we'll be looking at detailing, and this is where we'll be placing all the little bits and bobs that breathe life into your build and give it its own character and identity. And then finally, in episode 5, we'll be taking a look at the interior, and this is where we're going to be transforming the house into a home. And with that in mind, let's kick off episode 1, which is of course the planning phase. Even the most seasoned Minecraft players spend a lot of time planning their builds. This is where you need to pick up a pen and a piece of paper and start sketching out exactly what you want to build. This allows you to decide how many rooms you need, what they will be used for, and it gives you an overall idea of what your house will eventually look like. It doesn't have to be a magnificent piece of art because its only function is to give you some guidance. The picture you see on screen is the blueprint that I drew of the house we will be building. Now that we have our blueprint, let's take a look at a few building fundamentals. There are no hard and fast rules, but one rule that I tend to follow more than others is to ensure that my walls are an odd number of blocks, as this gives you a single block center line, which helps with symmetry and roof design. Now once again, there are no hard and fast rules, but I just find it's much easier to work with an odd number of blocks per wall. This allows us to put a door in the middle, for instance, and still have an equal number of blocks on both sides, and when designing a roof, it's easier to have a single center block. As you can see, this allows us to create a nice little curve coming to a point in the middle. But there's no reason that it should be absolutely symmetrical. As you can see, you can move the door around and then place a window next to it. Whether you want a symmetrical design or not is entirely up to you. On the inside, it is good practice to leave at least one block between a window and a door and the outside wall, because as you can see from this little demonstration, if I place the door right next to the wall, it just feels wrong and cramped. And ultimately, it does not look good. So we're going to replace our door where it's supposed to be, right there, one block away from the outside wall, giving us a good template to start from. Now as you can see, I've built a 6 wide wall here, an even number, just to illustrate the problems associated with that. If I place down a door, leaving one block on the side from the outer wall, you will notice that it is impossible to have that door in the middle. Now, there's no real reason why it should be in the middle, but achieving symmetry is just much harder with an even number of blocks in your wall. Now, we could of course add a double door to make it sit in the middle, but as you can see, there's just something off about this entire build. Additionally, you now have 2 center blocks to your roof instead of just the one, making it much harder to bring it to a nice pleasing point up at the top. And there are numerous other issues that you will pick up as you try and build your roof. And simply by looking at the odd numbered wall, you can see that it's just a much better way to go. And now that we have that out of the way, we have created 2 floor plans over here. Now, if you take a look at these 2 floor plans, you will notice that they are exactly the same plan, except the one in red is a little bit bigger. Now, the most surprising thing about this is that all of these rooms are only 2 blocks bigger than the one in green. And if you just take a walk inside, you can see these rooms are absolutely massive. And you really need to ask yourself, do you need all this space? It's important to consider your scale, especially if you're playing in survival, where resources are limited. And just looking at these 2 floor plans, you will notice that the one in red will require a significant amount more resources than the one in green. And considering that this is most likely the first house you'll build in a new survival world, the clear winner in terms of practicality is the one in green. Now, as I said before, this is not a block-by-block tutorial on how to build this specific Minecraft starter house. However, if you do want to build along, here is the floor plan with the measurements of each wall. Now that we have the floor plan locked in, we can create a wireframe of our house, and this will help us decide where to put the doors, the windows, and all of the other features that we need. I'm using green wool to do my wireframe, but if you're in a creative world, green wool might be a little bit hard to come by. You can use dirt as an alternative, as it is easy to find, easy to mine, and plentiful. So next up, we're going to create the placement of our windows, and I'm going to do it, as you can see, 1 block from the interior wall. I'm going to make a 2-high window, so there we go, just pop some wool in there, and that is our first window done. Now, as I'm a fan of symmetry, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other wall. Here we go, 1 block in from the interior wall, 2 high, and top it off. And there we have all the windows and doors for our first story laid out. And this is the stage where you'll be playing around with their placement, their sizes, and discovering the optimal setting for each one. Next, we're going to build the frame for the outer wall, and we're going to build our walls 5 blocks high. Then we're simply going to go over to the other corner, like so. And once we're at this corner, add another 5 block high pillar over there. And there's a specific reason for building it 5 high. It gives us 1 block above the window, 1 block below the window, and at the top we're going to have the edge of the roof, leaving only 1 block visible underneath it. And I'm going to use our little dirt box over here to illustrate another reason why I'm building my walls 5 blocks high. As you can see, it is very small, very claustrophobic, and very cramped in there. However, if we go up here and remove the ceiling, then we add another 2 blocks to the wall, and finally top off the ceiling at 5 blocks high, as per our starter house. Now, yes, it still looks absolutely terrible, but once we step inside, you will notice suddenly this area is transformed, looking much larger and much more spacious. So let's complete the wireframe for our first floor, and with these few blocks, it is finally done. As you can see, the entire first floor is neatly laid out. The placement of every window and every door has been perfected, and we can confidently go ahead with the build. We will repeat this process on the top floor, and then of course we will be planning out the interior as well. And one of the biggest challenges with the interior is getting the stairs in the right place. Because there are no rooms big enough to build a straight staircase, we will have to curve it, and to do that we need to put it in the corner. Now, as you can see, the staircase will be covering most of these 2 walls, and as such there are no windows or doors in them. We also need to create a little landing, and that means we'll have a tiny flat piece over here. So let's just take all of these stairs up to the top floor, and that is the basic layout of our staircase. And now that our staircase is done, we can finally finish the wireframe for the top floor. As you can see, we are going 5 blocks up once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to repeat that on every corner of the room. So 1 more pillar here, 5 blocks high. And finally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks for the last pillar. Next, we're going to fill in the wireframe between the pillars, and that should give us a complete wireframe for both stories of our starter house. And there we have a completed wireframe for our house. As you can imagine, had we gone with a red floor plan, this house would have been much larger, and we would have to collect a lot more materials to make the build happen. But as it stands right now, we can confidently start placing down our precious building blocks. And that concludes the planning section of our tutorial. We are ready to start building, and we will do just that in the next episode. If you found this tutorial to be useful, leave a like, and if you want to make sure you don't miss the next episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button. That is all for today, and in the next episode, we'll get some serious building done. But this is Fungusaurus Rex saying, until next time beautiful people, stay awesome. Bye bye.